Hey, how's it going? And today we're taking a quick look at Cascadeur. And if you don't know, right now it's November 23rd, 2023, and they are having a Black Friday sale where it's 40% off the software. And that means it's $180 for a year's subscription. And at the end of the year, if you don't want the subscription, you can cancel. You'll get a permanent license for the software. So I think that's very reasonable. I think this software has a lot of tremendous potential, especially since it's so compatible with Unreal Engine. So to get started with this, so I thought it would be nice just to do a kind of a quick start video. When you come into it, see a blank screen, I don't know, but if you don't, you just click home and this is what you'll probably see. And to get started with this, we're just simply going to go to samples, and it says in the documentation that we should be working with the Unreal Engine 4 mannequin if we're going to be exporting to Unreal Engine, but I've noticed there's no difference between using this one and the current one, so I'll just use Manny. The first thing is navigation. So it's very simple. You just hold down Alt and it's all through your mouse. If you left click, you orbit, middle mouse button up and down, left and right mouse button is zoom. So that's very simple. So basically Alt and your mouse controls is your navigation. So I think that's pretty easy to learn. The next thing is probably your view and what you're looking at. So to control that, we just come over here to this icon right underneath the home one, really. And we have this plain view mode. And so we can see the mannequin without any other features on it. And then the main one we're going to be looking at is this auto closing, which is absolutely amazing. So if we click it, we see this rig on the character. So what we're going to do is a very basic animation, just very basic. There's so much to this that I didn't want to bog you down with all the intricacies of everything. So all we're going to do is just go over some real super basics. So these are control points here, like a control rig. And if you select one, you'll see this translate tool comes up. It should come up. If it doesn't come up, well, you can hit E and go to a different one. Or W should bring it up if it doesn't come up automatically. So W, it's just like in Unreal Engine, the same control W and E. W is translation. And then because it's all connected, depending on the control point, this actually operates almost as a rotate. So if I move it this way on the head, I actually turn the head with the translate tool. So that's really interesting. Here, if I want to control the feet, I just click that control point. And down here on the feet, there's something special. If I hit Alt and left mouse button, we can see a little bit better. Zoom in a little bit. But this will drag the foot along the ground plane. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to click this and drag the foot along the ground plane. And notice when I do, the whole body kind of wants to come with me a little bit. So that's what we'll do, is we're just going to drag the foot over like that. Then I'm going to press Alt and kind of orbit back. Now what I'd like to do, since I dragged that foot, is I'd like to turn the chest toward the foot. So I'm going to click this point here, and I'm going to just turn him a little bit this way. It looks like I brought him up a little bit. I didn't mean to do that. So I can just bring him more like that. Maybe push him back a little bit more. There's no really right or wrong with this. And then with the head, if I want to adjust the head, the same thing. I can just turn him a little bit more like that or like this. Either way, but maybe I'll just have him looking forward a little bit like that. And that's all we're going to do for that animation. And you can come in here and just play around with. What we're going to do now is we're going to just mirror this pose. So there's a mirror function in here that allows us to copy this pose looking the other direction. First, we've got to select all the points in the rig. So if we double click on the pelvis, it selects all the control points in the rig. I just come up to the mirror tool, and we want to do it along the X plane, and then we just go mirror on current frame. But before we mirror it on the current frame, what we're going to do is actually drag our frame to the 20th frame here and add a keyframe there. And that's in the old position. Now what we're going to do is we can go ahead and go mirror on current frame, and you'll see now if I drag the playhead back, it switches between these two frames. And if we wanted to just see that another way, you can hit Shift A and Shift D. Shift A and Shift D. Shift A and Shift D. We can jump around. And we've got this basic animation, but there's no interpolation between it. But before we get to that, we're going to go ahead and copy this frame. And just like any software, it takes time to get everything figured out, and just practice. But we're just going to click on this first keyframe there, hold down Shift and middle mouse button, and it turns yellow. And we're going to click and drag this all the way to the 40th frame and let go. And so that just copied the first frame to the 40th frame. So copying is Shift and middle mouse button. That's how you copy a frame. So now if I come back to the beginning and I hit play, we've got this back and forth kind of animation, but no interpolation between them. Now if I want this keyframe to take up the entire timeline, I simply click this button, and now it takes over the full timeline. Now that we're done with I don't need to hit on the control points anymore. I can simply go back into view mode here. Should be able to go back into view mode, deselect, and go back into view mode. So to deselect, you usually just click away from the rig. And so now we don't need to keyframe anything else, so I just turn those all off. Now the next thing we're going to do is we want the character to hold his position a little bit, but before we do that, we're going to add some interpolation. So to do that, we're going to click this keyframe here and just drag all the way to the end here. Then we're going to go to interpolation here. It's on step interpolation now, but we want it to be on clamped Bezier. So I'll click that, and now it's clamped and it's added interpolation between the keyframes. So now if I go back to the beginning and I hit play, you'll see now he smoothly transitions. But what we want to do is him to hold this initial pose for a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice copying again real fast. So again, we'll left click, hold down Shift, middle mouse button, and drag to the 10th frame, and then that copies that initial pose to here. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to click this one, Shift, middle mouse button, and go to the 30th frame. And now you'll notice there's some pause before the animation starts. So we hit play, it holds, turns, pause, hold, turn, pause. And that's our complete animation, believe it or not. If I was in Unreal Engine normally and I saw that, I'd be like, hey, look how good a job I did. But it's very robotic, right? So here's the beautiful thing about this program is it adds physics, and that adds a natural flexibility to the animation that's just amazing. So what we're going to do is we're simply going to come up here to the auto physics, and it brings in this secondary character that's going to show us what our physics is going to look like. And then this window pops up. You might not see this originally when it comes in. You might see the outliner view, but if you just click on physics here, then you'll see these controls, and you'll see that we just have one control on. We can add secondary physics, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to add the physics. Now watch what happens when I hit play. Watching the green guy, see the flexibility now? That's incredible. The difference, it's a night and day difference, right? So to apply that, let's say I'm happy with that, I'm not going to mess around with it. We simply come up here and go snap to auto physics. And now that applies that animation, that physical animation to our rig. And then I can turn this guy off. And now if I hit play, go to the beginning and hit play, our character, look at that. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And that didn't take too long, maybe what, 10 minutes? I'm sure once you get fluent with the program, you can do it a lot faster. So now what we want to do, the big thing that we want to do is just export this. All we have to do to export this is come up to File, Export, and go Export Scene right there. And I'm just going to put this on my desktop for right now. And I'll just call this Manny Test, and we'll go save. And it says it exported scene animation exported. So now let's jump into Unreal Engine. I have it open already. This is Unreal Engine 5.2 actually. I've already done a test with the UE4 mannequin. And all we have to do is come to Add, Import to Game, and we'll get our Manny Test FBX and go Open. And there's just a couple settings. The first thing is we want to tie this to, since it was the Manny UE5, we're going to tie him to the SK Mannequin rig. We're going to turn off import mesh, and we want to turn off, if this is on, sometimes this is on by default, turn off convert scene. And that's all we have to do. And I'm just going to go import all. Now we get this imported bone transfer is different from original, but it doesn't seem to affect anything. So I'm just going to close that. And that's the same error message you'll get when you import this one. So here he is, right here, our Manny test. I'm just going to drag him onto the scene. And I'll hit play. And look at him. Those are actually two separate little animations I did there. But is that not cool? And you can add secondary animations to the upper half of the body to make it look even more dynamic. So I can't say enough good things about this program, and I'll probably be doing some more tutorials about it. But like I said, right now, at the end of November, they're doing a Black Friday sale, and so if this is something that looks appealing to you, I would seriously look into getting it. It seems like a very reasonable price right at this time. So take care, have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.